you please repeat the first part of the question?
How sympathetic do you be to non-participants and their special needs and their requests?
So we've sat through a number of these meetings and heard a lot of the concerns from the folks in the audience. Given the available lands where we can site outside of the what's been adopted in the new ordinance, we have sited our turbines to the furthest extent possible from those homes, given the lands that we have signed. So we are listening. We're doing what we can. There was a question asked earlier: can we shift the turbine locations? That's part of those minor shifts that we consider moving forward until we finally lock the turbine array.
Yeah, I would like you to have good communication with those people too.
Any other questions?
All right, board, with this as a listed use, would you agree that this board is empowered to issue this permit?
Yes.
I think this would be a good time if there was something back in number 4 specifically, if you had more questions about decommissioning, noise, lighting, something like that, this would be a good time to talk about that.
When you're using the haul roads on all these gravel county and township roads, if you're going by certain farm places that are close to the road, do you have any control on the dust that you can put stuff on the road to control the dust from the people? I know they did that in the last project.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, yes, typically when we do a road use agreement, we talk about a dust control plan. We'll actually work with, again, your road supervisor and the township officials to create that.
All right. You guys have any other questions on number 4?
So you're setting these towers up, and you believe that, say, the noise is going to be okay, but it turns out it's not. Do you then take that tower down, or what do you do in situations like that?
So I think our first goal would be to mitigate the noise. If there's anything we can do to reduce the noise impact on the impacted party, that's what we would strive to do.
So you're just mitigating. What do you mean by mitigating it?
Evening, board members. Yes, sir. There's a number of ways that you can mitigate noise level if it's too high. The way that the turbines are planned to be operated for this project is in full power mode. These towers themselves have a number of what we call depowered modes or derated modes, so they can actually produce less power and the sound levels can come down gradually as they do that. So typically what would happen is, let's say that there was a tower that was out of compliance and it was louder than the 45 decibels that was required at somebody's home. The first thing they do is do a study, make sure is it actually the tower, what the noise level is. And often, if there was a problem, it's usually something in the gearbox, something in the mechanics of the tower. They look to fix that first. And that does occur on occasion. Usually that can be fixed and then things go back to normal. If it is improperly sited, if it was a little louder than it was supposed to be, again, there's about 3 or 4 levels that can step it down, the power output to reduce the noise to make sure it comes back into compliance. But ultimately, if they can't get it into compliance, then you're looking at having to, they'd have to take the tower down or it won't be operated. They have to operate, if you grant them the permit, they have to operate within the requirements of the ordinance. So ultimately, the ultimate mitigation measure would be to take the tower down if it wasn't able to be operated properly.
Thank you.
I would, with my first district, from a standpoint of ordinance enforcement and administration, that would be typical as well. You would try and figure out a way to allow it. You'd obviously notify them of the violation. They'd have to figure out a way to fix it. If they can't fix it, it either stops, and then then it becomes abandoned, and then your abandoned clause comes in where it's got to go away. So ultimately, It's that stair step in there. But again, we're talking about a major investment here. I think they do their homework a couple times to make sure that's not going to happen.
You guys got any other questions? All right.
There were a couple of points, and would you allow me, Chair? A couple of things that I noticed. There was some discussion about aircraft protection lighting, and I'm sure this was brought up at the last hearing, that a condition at the South Dakota PUC of the last couple of wind energy systems was that they would attempt to have them compatible with aircraft protection lighting systems. That's not to say you can't make that a condition, that they would also do that, but that was something that was carried on there. The other point that was brought to me by airport managers and member of FAA is to remind you that that is a site-by-site deal as to whether or not they determine aircraft protection is suitable in that location. They have determined it in other locations in the country, but it would be a site-by-site deal. So the point is, what was relayed to me from airport managers was that it would be, they had suggested that they should be compatible with it, but compatible with the FAA's requirements as well. So if the FAA says it's not suitable here, if that's an option for you.
All right.
So we've gone through first 9 questions. Do you agree, board? Given the first 9 questions, do you agree that this will not adversely affect the public interest if operated according to our ordinance and in accordance with those conditions that would have been prescribed based on the last permit, which, for what it's worth, holds them to the requirements of your zoning ordinance?
You guys got any comment? Agree? Yep. All right.
This is something that if this next one, especially if you disagree or want to handle this differently, I think it would be a good point. This is a little bit different than you had handled it the last time. So the question is, does the board request the staff to prepare the findings of fact consistent with these questions to be approved by the chairman of the board, and for the staff to issue the special exception permit and any letters of assurance, building permits, or other items associated with said special exception permit? And I only bring that up because last time I know you wanted staff to prepare the findings of fact and then bring them back for you to formally approve. And so that would be different. In the way that this is described, staff would prepare it and the chair would sign. Would you rather that staff prepare, come back to you to review before you have the chair sign? Again, regardless of how you would vote on it.
You guys want to know what they signed? What they came up with? Before I sign it? No, what do you guys think? You guys want to make a comment whether you want to have them prepared or not just sign it, or if you want it back in front of your board and discuss it before I sign it?
Yeah, I'd like that to see to make sure everything as a board is correct.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a better idea.
I agree with that also.
It's all right.
All right. We got that understanding on straight anyway?
So what that would say is that you would, you'd bring them back, you'd bring the findings of fact back for the chair, for the board to review and authorize the chair to sign, right? And the last question, and I will, after saying this, I will read through what those recommended conditions were as well. But does the board agree that the conditions recommended by staff should be agreed to by the applicant? And or do you have any additional recommended conditions to add? And this would be an appropriate time to read those. Those are that the effective date and transferability of this permit would be, the effective date would be upon issuance of a permit by the South Dakota PUC, South Dakota Public Utilities Commission. That would be the effective date of this permit. This permit shall expire if no substantial construction described within the application has occurred within 3 years of issuance of a permit by the South Dakota Public Utilities Commission, or if application for permit has not been made on or before September 20th, 2021, and permit means from the South Dakota Public Utilities Commission. Correct. The applicant may apply for an extension of this permit if the requirements of the previous item cannot be met. The special exception permit is not, the special exception permit is transferable. Subsequent owners and operators shall agree to the same conditions described herein. The next condition would be that there will be, from general standpoint, there will be no discharge of industrial processed wastewater on the site. Storage of petroleum products in quantities exceeding 100 gallons at one locality in one tank, or a series of tanks must be in elevated tanks. Such tanks larger than 1,100, that's 1,100 gallons, must have secondary containment system where it is deemed necessary by the Board of Adjustment. The grantor, in this case Crown Ridge, the grantor shall provide the zoning office with an updated local contact information of plant supervisor with authority to implement dust control and other necessary enforcement of conditions of this permit. Obligation to meet requirements. The applicant agrees to meet requirements of section 1215 of the Deuel County Ordinance in reference to remaining obligations, including but not limited to the submittal of all road agreements, submittal of a decommissioning plan, final site location of towers, building permit application, meeting applicable federal and state requirements, and consideration of bond for abandonment and decommissioning. And finally, violations and penalties. The violation of the terms of the special exception permit will be determined by the Deuel County zoning officer. The first violation substantiated by the zoning officer of this special exception permit may result in a notification letter stating violation and a prescribed period of time to remove the violation. The second violation occurring within 1 calendar year of the previous violation may result in a review of the validity of the special exception permit and potential revocation of said permit. A third violation within 1 calendar year of the initial violation may result in a revocation of the special exception permit and cessation of wind energy system within 45 days of notice of revocation. The applicant may make appeal from any decision of the zoning officer or other agent of Deuel County Board of Adjustment to the Deuel County Board of Adjustment. The applicant shall file with the zoning officer a notice of appeal specifying the grounds thereof. The zoning officer shall forthwith transmit to the Board of Adjustment all papers constituting the record upon which the action appeal was taken. Such appeal shall be taken within 30 days. Appeals from the Board of Adjustment, of course, shall be taken to the circuit court. And finally, failure to comply with the decision of the zoning officer or other agent of Deuel County may be deemed a separate violation. What that means is that if the zoning officer determines that the whole road has been destroyed, you need to go out, that's probably not a good example, determines that after they put up their tower, it's 50 feet too close to the building, they'd have to be notified and correct the problem, obviously. They'd have to move it. Or if it's too loud, they'd have to take corrective action or prove that it's done, that it's not, or that that's wrong in some way, shape, or form. If they do not, if they thumb their nose at it, that's another violation. Just ignoring it is a violation. Those are the conditions that were applied to your last wind energy system. And so those would carry forward. If there's something specific to, I don't believe your last wind energy application had anything specific about aircraft detection lighting. I think you would probably need to make a motion specific to that, or anything that you're not positive was in there, you may want to make a specific, add that onto it, okay?
Was there something in there, or did we discuss it last time about progress being made after the 3 years, significant progress?
I think that was the provision that allowed them to ask for a
Extension.
continued or extension. That's what that was asking.
Okay, but is that a certain, did we come to agreement on a certain amount of time, or of progress, whether it's 20% or 50%, or I don't really recall.
As you were talking, I was looking for that. I haven't seen it yet.
I know we talked about it, and I think it was like 25% that they had to be progress.
Yeah, the findings say that for the purpose of this application,
The findings say that for the purpose of this application, substantial construction shall be considered the completion of at least 25% of the towers in the final layout are or should have been erected.
So that would need to be specified within here. It was not what I read, so we need to specify it that way. Unless you have a different number in mind.
So, you guys got anything else you want to bring up before I ask for it?
Luke, on the aircraft detection lighting system, is that a part of the permit? Can you answer that for me?
I'm not.
Or do we have to make that a condition?
Oh, is it already in? No, it's not. You would have to add that as, you just point out that you want it, I guess, Mr. Chair, with your permission, based on what I've heard so far, I'll put a couple of things into place here. And it's really up to you, and obviously it's up to you on how you vote. But I mean, your motion would be in the affirmative as always, subject to the conditions as read by staff, in this case on your staff, in addition to the 25% completion portion that was to the Invenergy request as well.
Okay.
And also to add that aircraft detection lighting system be applied for at the FAA. Those would be a couple of things that I've heard. I'm not saying you can't add more to it, but those are the things that I've heard in there so far.
Okay.
You guys got anything else that you want to, now's the time to do it. You guys got any other questions? You're satisfied? Otherwise, I'm going to ask for a motion on this. Ask for a motion for the special exception, whether or not we're going to go for it.
do we go on just the, make a motion for the approval of the wind tower and then put the condition, the conditions are afterwards, or, I mean, mute if it,
I'd recommend making it part of the motion.
okay.
Sure. So,
So when you say to put in the light detection as a condition, is that a condition that if the FAA approves it, it's okay? Or if they don't approve it, then the towers are not allowed to come in? Is that what you're saying?
That'd be your decision.
Is that how you want to put it in the motion?
If, it really depends on what you're saying. If your intent is if they can't have the aircraft detection lighting at these locations, then the whole wind farm should go away. That would also be different than your last one that you had approved, but that would be how you word it. What you've seen in other cases is the PUC had required that they request aircraft detection lighting system and really leave it up to the FAA to decide whether or not aircraft detection lighting was suitable, and if it wasn't, then let the FAA pick what went on. That's how other places have done it. So it really, you've got to figure out how you want to handle that. I will say that I've run into cases where on a simpler case, folks have issued permits for, this is a lot simpler, so don't think I'm saying apples to apples here, but folks have issued permits for retail establishments on the condition that the state decrease the speed limit in front of that building, and then the state didn't decrease the speed limit, and then the county goes, oh shoot, I guess that didn't work. So just for what it's worth, realize what you're saying, because if you say that they don't get a permit, if the FAA says that, then they don't get a permit, they'll probably be back in asking you to waive it.
So do you want to make that be a motion pending upon FFA approval? If FFA approves the motion detector, and if not, then they got to go with just the standard lighting? Is that what you're trying to get at, Kevin, or what are you trying to get at?
That's what I was.
That was the question I had.
So are you thinking that you want to put it in as a stipulation but not a requirement? Or how do you guys want to word that? I mean, if you put it in for a requirement and they deny that they don't need it.
You could put it in there saying, approve the project with the condition that the air detection lighting be used where possible and when possible.
as determined by FAA.
By determined by FAA. That's up to them then.